Strict rules the cast of Stranger Things must follow. Hello and welcome back to Off-Cam Celebs. For today's video, we are going to talk about the strict rules the cast of Stranger Things must follow. Let's get started. The success of the Netflix original show Stranger Things is largely due to its phenomenal cast, and as a result, one might assume that the kids have achieved diva status and have developed a first-name basis with Netflix executives. But this is far from the case. In fact, the superstars must adhere at some of the industry's sickest rules if they want to stay in the show. And now that they've become ultra famous, Netflix has begun to watch them even more closely, trying to protect their image and ensure the brand's success. Number 1. They must lose the British accent. First, they must lose the British accent. This rule applied mostly to Charlie Heaton, who plays Jonathan Byers. Did you know that this boy is actually British? If you didn't notice, then maybe he's been doing a good job following this rule that says any cast members who doesn't have a natural American accent has to lose their natural way of speaking, so that it doesn't destroy the whole fantasy setting of the show. Of all the words that he had to say in the series, do you know which word Charlie said he had the most trouble saying in American accent? Nancy. I mean, is that ironic or what? Number 2. No cell phones allowed on set. Okay, so this sounds wildly impossible for kids these days, so it's a good thing our Stranger Things cast has to be in character anyway. They must internalize the best possible way that they were kids living in the 80s when smartphones were still just figments of the imagination. As you could imagine, this rule exists to prevent unwanted leakages of any sort. Imagine the kids take all sorts of photos while filming and then some master hacker gains access to their cloud accounts to spoil the whole thing. What a disaster that would be. Next up, the kids all have to show up on set with neatly scrubbed. When a series is set in a current era, actors are sometimes allowed to do their own makeup and arrived on scene ready to shoot. But since the time setting is critical, in Stranger Things, the kids have to be made up by professionals on set. This means they have to arrive barefaced and ready to be dolled up. But this is a relatively new rule, which was enforced because of Millie Bobby Brown, the actress who plays the crowd favorite, 11, apparently once showed up to the set covered in glitter, which was a nightmare for the costume and makeup department. They had to postpone everything scheduled for that day so Millie could shake off the glitter and get cleaned up. What a hassle that would have been. Keeping the plot under lock and key. Well, that's not to be taken literally, but cast members are perpetually reminded that they cannot speak of what they already know will happen in the series. They have to be especially careful in the interviews. Since interviews are very good and they know what they're doing, they know the right questions to ask to get the answers they need. So the cast of Stranger Things is provided with a massive guide on what things they can't talk about and which ones to absolutely keep in secrecy. Imagine if they let slip what happened at the end of the session before it was released. It would be a disaster. No haircuts outside the set. It sounds strange, I know, but one haircut can completely derail the series' storytelling. So the Stranger Things cast are only allowed to have their hair trim on the set, all under the supervision of an artistic director. The rule might apply to everyone, but we know it's really mostly for Joe Keery, who plays Steve Harrington, more commonly known as the Hair. Apparently, Joe walked into his audition with an overgrown and gravity-defying haircut, which the show's creators really liked. It fits the show perfectly, the theme, so he absolutely cannot change his hairstyle for as long as he plays the hair. Number 5. Too much muscle is bad. While most celebrities earn their living by keeping hot bodies, the cast of Stranger Things are not allowed to bulk up. The muscle building and chiseled body era was only really just beginning, so not many people look buff in the 80s. So the kids have to remain sort of chubby or lanky. This used to be the problem for Dacre Montgomery, who plays Hargrove. He waltzed into the show with a whipping body, fresh off his role as the Red Power Ranger. In Power Rangers, you know that he would have to train hard for the role. So in order to look more like a Stranger Things character than a stranger fighter in red suit, Baker had to change his diet again and gain a few pounds. For that perfectly rounded look, it's crazy that some shows make their actors, don't you think? Number 6. Know your priorities. The cast members are not prohibited from taking other acting opportunities, but they are constantly reminded to always check their filming schedule first, given how intense it is to shoot a series like Stranger Things. Most of them actually had to turn down other golden opportunities simply because the schedule is not accommodated. Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike Wheeler, almost quit the Netflix film which appear in the film It. Lucky break though, since there was a year-long delay in the production of Stranger Things. So Finn had time to do both. Just think of the cash he would have missed out on from doing the big movie blockbuster like that. Number 7. No bad-mouthing your co-stars. Now this is one rule that we wish existed in all shows ever. Apparently, the Stranger Things cast are told to keep their grievances about their colleagues within the set. You know how kids get sometimes, they run their mouths and then can say mean things, but producers remind them every now and then to avoid saying bad words about the people they are working with. Solid role, especially when you are spending so much time with each other, you become like a family. Number 8. The cast can't access early episodes sent for screening. Did you know that the producers have to send completed episodes to Netflix and other screening bodies who view them in advance to everybody to make sure it's TV and kid-friendly? Number 9. Password protected. Well, all of these episodes are password protected and the cast members are prohibited from accessing them. Imagine if they had access to the footage and get way too much excited and uncovered some major spoilers. Netflix is very strict and tight on nothing being leaked out. Number 10. Members of the Stranger Things cast have to watch their social media posts. This is aimed especially at the photos they are share, and what they say about the pictures and how many words they tell right well. One snap where kids may be seen wearing secretly revealing clothes or dried up blood makeup effects can tell a lot of things that are supposed to be under hush-hush and ruin the whole surprise. Number 11. Producers require them to get really comfortable wearing vintage clothes from the 80s. Again, Stranger Things is an 80s-based film, and kids have to convince viewers that they are living in the past. One way to get the right headspace for such a big requirement is to wear old clothes all the time. Yeah, even at home, but hey, looking at how fashionable 80s clothes look, you think these kids are complaining? Number 12. Think of 11 as an alien. This is a quite peculiar rule, but its main reason why 11 is everyone's favorite. Apparently, Millie Bobby Brown was instructed to act like E.T. Yes, the alien E.T. Plus, the other kids were told to interact with 11 as if they were interacting with the adorable E.T. That's why all their scenes are so precious. They remind us another alien-human friendship that's so hard to forget. Number 13. Cast members should prepare to lose their voices a lot. If you're a big fan of the show, then you know why this rule exists. There is a lot of screaming in the show, and I'm talking about a lot. It's no longer unusual for these kids to start losing their voice, but they have to recover pretty quickly and in time for the next shooting day. This requires a lot of self-care and probably swallowing nasty things and lozenges to get the job done. As the best as possible, speaking of nasty things you put in your mouth. Number 14. Cast members have to grow accustomed to cold burgers and greasy fries. Disgusting. Well, it's not like producers can be expected to provide the goods with hot off-the-grill burgers and some crispy fries for the iconic 11 scenes. Maybe they could have, but for some reason, they didn't. Number 15. Beware of pranks. Stranger Things is a pretty dark show, but a lot of fun goes on behind the camera. Millie and Noah Schnapp are pretty notorious for playing pranks on the Duffers and even on the costume designers. But the brothers got sweet revenge in the form of really cool prank. On Noah's mom, they pulled his mother's side, telling her and the producers have to show her something off. They go into a dark closet where the frighteningly realistic prop corpse of her son was waiting, absolutely horrible, but it got the job done. Number 16. Don't be spooked filming at the site of a real murder. As mentioned earlier, it's a pretty dark show. Remember that mall scene in the third season? Apparently, it was the actual site of the grisly murder. Just 5 months before they started filming, and there are reports to say that a man who had been dead for 2 weeks was found inside a subway in that actual mall. Can you imagine how creepy it must have been for the kids? Well, I would say they're likely immune to this creepiness by now. Ready, set, kiss. Sure, shows like this have a pretty solid script prepared beforehand, but of course creators have full liberty to manufacture scenes out of the thin air whenever they deem it necessary. So one of these unscripted scenes was the kiss between Sadie Sink and Caleb McLaughlin. So Ross Duffer was goofing around one day telling Sadie and Caleb they're going to kiss on camera. It was a joke though, of course, but apparently, Sadie got so flustered that Ross decided it would be so much fun to do it anyway. Pretty interesting turn of events. Number 18. Get used to fame. Too much spotlight can get to a child's head. It even messes with adults sometimes, as well as the 5 kids have to be constantly reminded to get used to fame. But to keep their feet firmly on the ground and stay humbled, we've seen former child stars completely lose their way, and it would be sad to see our main 5 go down the same way. So they are told to courteous to fans and recognize them wherever they go. The kids are still expected to lead the most normal lives they possibly can. Number 19. Get real familiar with the Stephen King's Stand By Me. Stephen King's novel deals with a group of boys who go on an adventure in the woods in pursuit of a dead body. It's sort of the perfect pretext of the Stranger Things storyline, and in fact, lines from the novel were used to audition over thousands of kids for the 5 major characters. So whenever our main squad struggles to get in character, all they have to do is to reread King's novel to get acquainted with how the group thinks, acts, and feels after they go after menacing characters in the dark. Number 20. The kids have to learn how to float in salt. We saw this cool trick in the season 1 when the group built some sort of sensory deprivation tank to find Will in the Upside Down. Remember how impressive 11 looked when she floated? Apparently, it was shot by jumping over 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt into a kiddie pool. It must have been weird for kids to float in a pool full of salt, but I'm kind of jealous because it seems like it would have been really fun and relaxing. Now, what can you say about these strict rules that the Stranger Things cast must follow? Please let me know by leaving a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you for stopping by. See you on our next video.